guy's gotta come out. There's another one downriver. Another one downriver. See it downriver. He's watching us.
Whew. Right. That was the day. Back late. Probably got bloodshot eyes. Whatever. Little Chippy and Sarah decided to get up at 4:45 this morning and want to go on an adventure and look for big, huge bull elk. My hat's great this time. It's a little crooked yesterday. Some people emailed me about it. So anyway, we saw, what did we see? We called in some bulls for Chippy. He was pretty excited. He was scared at first. You know what it was. And it was a great big bull that I've been really trying to get that perfect video of. I'm trying to get him in this river bottom in the west coast of the island. It's a really cool setting. And I've got, I don't know, 40 pounds of freaking camera gear. And I'm just trying to get him to come down this the perfect setting, the big timber and the river, and get him, his whole body, without any branches between me or him, on video. And he's making it difficult. But I'm getting on him. I got him on trail cameras. And I got him screaming back and forth, but the cows he's hanging with, they don't want nothing to do with the fight. So while we're going at it back and forth, the cows are trotting up the river, and he has to leave and go after them. It's like, oh, come on, buddy. And then we went down and tried another chunk of river and checked a bunch of trail cameras, got some cool videos on those, and then put some even more out. And then we hiked all the way back up, and we tried bugling again for that big monster bull, and if he didn't answer again, and we went in and went after him again, got to about 50 yards from him, saw him beating the crap out of a Christmas tree up in the timber, but I couldn't get my eyes on him, and the cow led him up the mountain even farther again, so we walked away and left. But it was fun. And then we had to go out and clean out all the stuff out of the boat to get ready to put that away, and then we stopped at a bridge and looked down, and there's a whole bunch of spawning spring salmon, Chinook king salmon down there. And lo and behold, I dug up a GoPro out of the truck, and I had grabbed one of my halibut rods out of the box of the truck and rigged it all up and cast it in there, and I'll put that at the end of this video and show you what we got. It's pretty cool. Great day for the young Chippy. Big time. Now, what do we got going on here? Into the inbox. Take off where we left off. Some unread messages, emails. What do we got here? Oh. Here's the title of the email is, I want to know who the U.S. Senator is that covered up the Sasquatch DNA. How can we find out? From that video you shared, JZ Texas. You know what? I don't think it'd be too hard for anybody to start doing a little due diligence and investigating, right? We have a bunch of sleuths here for certain. I'll bet you somebody, if they dug right now, they'd probably come up with that name within an hour. I'm guessing. Give it a go. Listen to that whole video by Crider Adventures and check it out. Not that it would matter. I mean, if the amount of lies that senators are delivering to the people, right? And they don't go to jail. Here's the next email. Hello, Steve, and nowhere on the channel. Steve, you may use my name. It is Ward Abel. A brief history on my background. I grew up in the mountains of southwestern Pennsylvania in a small village called West Salisbury in Somerset County. I hunted and fished on this mountain called Mount Davis. Elevation, 3,213 feet. Not far from my home in West Salisbury. I want to share my experiences of the Sasquatch, also known as Sasquatch, with you and the other on the knowledge I have gathered about them with your YouTube community. So my journey begins. All right, here we go. I'm in. I was a combat soldier. My MOS 19/Echo-10 tank crewman / combat arms. I was not aware of Sasquatch at this time of my first encounter with the Watcher. I was a 19-year-old young soldier on Army installation. It was late afternoon. I was stationed as a road guard at the exit of a live fire tank range. The Jeep dropped me off at my post in the middle of nowhere on this base. As I stood my observation post, I had no weapon, only a torch and a field radio. In the distance, I could hear the rumble of tanks moving to contact and firing and then exiting at my position. As darkness began to fall over the desolate landscape around me, a horrifying guttural scream came out of nowhere, and I was terrified beyond belief as I scrambled in the darkness to my field radio, only for the battery to have gone dead instantly at that moment. That sucks. So I stood my post for the next 2 hours until the last tank exited the live fire range, and I could hear screams occasionally in the distant darkness. Then a Jeep arrived and picked me up, and I departed the area. The next night I was taken to a different observation post. This one was like a raised wooden deck, about 12 foot by 12 foot and about 4 feet off the ground. There's a plaque on the deck dedicated to a soldier who was killed here standing his post. Oh no. All activity normal for my 4-hour watch that night. I've had many other experiences on other military installations as well, but those are for another email. I hope when I am closer to the end of this earthly journey here on this blue marble, I'll write them to you, Steve, to share with the community, but cannot now due to non-disclosure agreement with them evil sons of bitches in our government. Oh no, no shit. No shit. But is there any other way? Can you just make up a fake email on Proton or something and fire it off that way without putting any names or descriptions of where to incriminate yourself? I wonder. Maybe think about that. And I appreciate your honesty and I appreciate your generosity with this email. I and a friend went for a short hike on a trail on Mount Davis and found evidence of them on the trail, footprints, tree breaks, and other type of tree formations. And I stayed in a small cabin on a friend's farm in Salisbury, PA. I had 3 experiences there. At night, I would leave my window open about half an inch at the top at night just in case the wind picked up and caused the wood stove to smoke. It would then vent the smoke outside. When I woke in the morning, on many occasions, the window was pushed shut by someone or something. There's a small stream by the cabin, and I would wash up there in the morning and afternoon. And before dark one afternoon, when I returned from town, I went to wash up, and the soap dish and towel was gone on the branch that I hung it on. About 4 inches in diameter, was broke in half. The nights started to get warm, so I decided to sleep in my hammock. I was feeling uneasy, and I went in my cabin and loaded my semi-assault 12 gauge with 3 inches double-aught and slugs and clipped the sling to overhead cover ridge line just within arm's reach from inside the hammock. And I settled in for the night. I usually saw a deer feeding not far from my cabin, and hear a distant coyote howl on occasion, or sounds of squirrels scampering through the dry leaves. But nothing. Dead silence surrounded me. As I lay there in the silence for hours, I looked out from under my poncho that covered my hammock, and there he stood. A dark silhouette of a watcher. I laid there and watched him, and then I lost time for about 4 hours. When I woke, silences still surround me with the feeling of lost time. On another occasion on the mountain, I had mind speak incident occur. It started off with forest erupting in the loud sounds, trees being broken as it approached me. I could feel a heavy humming vibration in my chest as it drawn closer to me, then for no reason it went silent. Steve, I'm leaning toward fallen angels, watchers, and the Nephilim. In the Bible it says God had casted out 30 million angels who followed Lucifer. Some of these fallen angels tried to repent, but God would not forgive them. So, some rule the earthly domain with Satan, and some may remain neutral. That's why we may find some of them who do no harm to us humans. So, some of them may be demons out to destroy us, humanity, as they are follower of Satan. Thank you, Steve. May God continue to protect and richly bless you and your family. From Ward Abel. All right. Could I share your name, Steve? I'm using my name. Said to use your name. All right. Wow. So it sounds to me like you have been informed of something, right? Now, what did you see? Did you see a body? Did you partake in or watch or see or witness somebody killing these beings, I wonder? What do you know? You've got my curiosity. If I've got to wait, I'll wait, obviously. But if you want to, use Proton Mail and throw down that way. Make up a email. Go somewhere else. Email it from a library or something. And throw it down and email my way. And do not leave any names or don't leave any names or physical locations. Just what you saw, what you know. That's it. If we have to wait, we'll wait. But if you want to try that, I'm all over it. And I appreciate you sharing that. The Watchers, I got a feeling you know something. My gut's telling me you know. That's great. I'm super stoked and happy you reached out. Weird Things Hunting Behind My House is the title of this email. And these are all recent, off the recent stack. Okay, guys? Hello, How to Hunt family. I grew up in Ashby, Massachusetts, next to a state park, and spent my entire childhood in the woods with friends and swimming in leech-filled pond. And grew up with a father big in hunting, so I did a lot of it myself. At a friend's in Ashby, having a few beers, 4 of us sitting in his driveway, something flew over his house, triangular in shape, very dark in color, which it was dark out, 3 lights on each tip, just quietly flew over his house. My buddy noticed it first, pointed at it with his mouth wide open, couldn't speak. I look up and say, "What the hell is that?" My wife was there also. We all just said, "What the hell is it? And why can't we hear it?" And we were saying how slow it's moving, how it is staying up there without us hearing it. Just thought of it as maybe some kind of an air balloon. Same girl I was with 15 years now. I found the love of my life and moved, and we took on her family home in Phillipston, Massachusetts. Again, I'm on a wildlife management area with thousands of acres of woods behind us and beside us. I live on a dead-end road, roughly a few miles long, and roughly 18 houses on it. Dead-end road with a trail roughly 5 miles long leads to neighboring town. Spent a lot of time in the woods behind and beside and across the street of me. Thousands of acres. Hunted all of it. The first weird thing that happened was roughly 10 years ago, directly behind my house. I sat at my tree stand during deer season, waited till dark. Nothing walked home. a long dirt road roughly a mile long that leads directly to my backyard, carrying nothing but my bow. Walking, hearing the steps of my feet on the dirt, and then start hearing leaves beside and behind me off the road on both sides of the road. I stopped. You're a few steps of leaves. I stopped. You're a few steps of leaves. They stop. Sat a second, nothing, so I moved and hear it again 10 seconds later. Stop, same exact thing. So, obviously, started getting a little weary. Then I just thought, man, this is probably just coyotes. And we do have a shit ton of them all around my house. But said to myself, coyotes are not going to do shit, so just keep walking home like nothing. Roughly 2 years after that, sitting in my tree stand behind my house, swampy area where the two game trails lead into one, was roughly an hour before dark completely. I could hear a dew, okay, probably some couple typos, no big deal. I think he meant I could hear a gray-horned owl in the distance, like usual, a couple birds chirping, and then completely quiet. I thought to myself, that's weird. Then I hear what sounded like roughly a 50-foot rotten tree smack the mud in the swamp, roughly 500 or so feet behind me, in a spot that's thickly covered in brush. So, could see nothing. And it was dead calm. You could not hear any wind in the trees, nothing. Just sat there, quiet, thinking, what the hell can knock a tree that big over? I know we have moose, which I've gotten on my game cams, but I thought I would definitely hear them coming, especially in the brush that thick. Then, roughly 10 minutes after that, everything back to normal, hear the birds chirping, owls again, but I really didn't think much of it. And this spring, my neighbor owns a ton of sheep, which she has fields on both sides of me in across the street. I woke up one early morning. All of her adult sheep were in my neighbor's lawn across the street. So, I just called her to let her know. Turned out she had 5 babies that were killed, but nothing ate them. They were all tangled up in her fence and dead in the field. Didn't get to see them, but she said she had them sent out to be examined. I never caught up with her yet to see exactly what happened with that, but thought it was weird. They were just all killed and not taken. I know we have bobcats and coyotes and black bear and moose and deer. Everything know, as a predator, they will drag the meat somewhere to eat or devour them at sight. Have a few more recent things that happened, but we'll message in a letter in a later time. I don't want to take up too much of your time, seeing how this is a pretty long message itself. I know you're busy with everything you've got going on. Thanks for everything you do and give us a spot to speak of what goes on in this filthy world of ours, being ran by tyrants. Josh. Okay, man. Appreciate your time, Josh. I got some questions, though, about the kill. You can email me back your answer if you want. Was there any marks on it, on them at all? Because there is one thing that will do that, and that is cats. Well, wolves will do it too. Believe it or not, you guys, wolves kill for fun. First-hand witness, they do it all the time. But that's a different topic. Cougars. Salt Spring Island, you can Google that up. That is between Vancouver Island and the mainland of British Columbia. Real close to Vancouver Island at one point. And you can, back in the day, I read a book from a family who used to be the government-paid predator control people. That hounds, they knew their predators and they were called to dispatch, chase down, hunt, and dispatch any problem predators, especially big cats, especially cats who are killing kids, children. Crazy book. Anyway, one of the stories in that book wrote of a sheep herder farmer on Salt Spring Island, and a cougar started killing the sheep, and he put them all in the barn, closed it up, and if that cat didn't find his way into the barn and killed every single one of them, I think there's over 40 of them, killed every single one of them in a night, didn't eat nothing, and then booked it. Why do they do that? Don't know, but they do it. So I'd be interested, I'm curious to know what kind of marks were on those sheep, if any, right? Bones broken, or what? Who's next? All right, this next email looks like it's a long one. This might be the last one for me for right now. I gotta get back on the morning thing, but my mornings are just getting gobbled up, so I'm doing this later in the day. Why I think the government doesn't want us to know about Sasquatch is the title of this email. It's Excuse me. Hello, how to hunt. Long-time listener here, even longer email, sorry. I'm a former USAF flyer, now a commercial diver, and I consider myself an amateur historian. I hold a master's degree in military history and expect to finish my doctorate in a couple of years. It's incredible you can uncover what you can uncover from publicly available information, and you can piece together a pretty compelling picture of what's going on. Much of the heavy lifting is already done. Oh, agreed. Big time agreed. But how many people do it? Not too many, right? I believe the government doesn't want us to know about Sasquatch because it might be the most credible, objective proof of extraterrestrial activity we have. Agreed. Consider the work of Melba Ketchum. That'll be Dr. Melba Ketchum. Evolution doesn't work at the speed required to explain Sasquatch, who seemingly appeared out of nowhere 15,000 years ago with abilities that defy natural evolution. Such rapid changes point to genetic engineering rather than natural selection, suggesting an advanced civilization was involved. Perhaps one as advanced as ours, if not more. Absolutely agree with that statement from what I've learned. Humanity didn't have the technology to engineer such beings back then. The only plausible explanation is that an advanced species came to Earth and manipulated our genes to create Sasquatch. Or vice versa. They are our descendants, not the other way around. Well, I don't know. A lot of people would argue that. Though they may look like large apes, they are much more than that. Perhaps even more human than we are, genetically speaking. I've shared my thoughts with Jeremiah on Bigfoot Society and Western Sasquatch Chronicles, but I believe this is why the government hasn't acknowledged Sasquatch. Once they conducted their own DNA study, maybe in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s, they likely realized it would validate some form of ET connection. Which group? I have no idea. The government likely wants to keep this quiet because most abductions reported have a genetic component, which could further confirm that advanced civilizations have tampered with our DNA. The Sasquatch DNA study, which I believe in, shows precedent, and that's dangerous for anyone trying to maintain this secrecy. Specific gene modifications like those in FOXP2 and TKTR1 are hard to believe as random occurrences. These targeted changes had to proliferate through early human populations, signaling that humanity has been manipulated for a long time. Even the Sasquatch is a version of humanity dialed up to 100, where most of us are barely at 9. The 4% difference in nuclear DNA between Sasquatch and humans might not seem like much, but it's more significant than the 2% difference between humans and chimpanzees. This difference likely accounts for their observed abilities, super strength, enhanced senses, and possibly even remote viewing and telepathy. The government doesn't want us to know about Sasquatch because all roads lead back to ETs or something similar. The Sasquatch topic has been proven. Further proof is, in my opinion, a waste of time. A body will only be found by accident or through overwhelming force, and even then, the government will ensure it doesn't get out. Instead of focusing on proof, I suggest we seek understanding. Agreed. Sasquatch is the thread that, when pulled, starts to unravel the whole corrupt house of cards. Great videos, sir. To your audience, take care of each other and the planet and learn as much as you can while you're here. Good luck finding that missing link for humanity that supposedly exists. If Sasquatch was genetically engineered, then we, as the most alien-looking species on this planet, might be harder to pinpoint in terms of when and how we were engineered. But there's compelling evidence that our genome has been manipulated over time, possibly since our species was created. Stories from guys like Whitney Strieber in Communion and Jacques Vallée's The Invisible College, and especially David Jacobs' The Threat, suggest that the tampering is ongoing. If this is the same group that created us, why would they need to abduct us? And why would it be in clandestine? The whole reason abductions continue is because they're part of a secret program that exists in the shadows. When people come forward, they're ridiculed. as if secrecy is ingrained in our DNA, or at least exploited by these beings. They likely know us very well, creating hybrids for the purpose we might not like. This has probably been happening since the 1960s at least. It's as if we're genetically engineered or predisposed to ridicule anyone that conflicts with the status quo worldview. Maybe it was intentional. Either way, it sure seems like it's being exploited, keeping not only the Sasquatch thing secret, but the ET abduction thing secret too. And by the way, it wouldn't surprise me if the same group genetically engineered chronic wasting disease to bring people living outside of controlled society into the fold. No doubt. And it also has a way of infecting anything that eats uncooked meat. I'm not sure if cooking it kills it completely, but we know that deer and elk are Sasquatch's primary protein source in North America. If it wasn't created, it sure seems specific in its implications. Created or not, someone might be capitalizing on this disease popping up out of nowhere, allegedly in the 80s. For all I know, Sasquatch might have a super immune system and can burn right through this thing. Everything else in them appears to be enhanced. But designing a virus or a disease to target where they are weak would not be hard, especially when the population genome is more or less static, locked in place. An abduction program would require massive infrastructure, and it's understandable why most people don't want to think about it. It's horrific, personal, and feels beyond their control. However, there is strength in numbers and power in truth. People going through these experiences could find comfort in knowing others are going through it too. And I recommend they seek support groups. They are out there. As for Sasquatch, they're likely experiencing the same thing. If another advanced civilization came to this planet and found multiple apex species, they would undoubtedly want to catalog and possibly manipulate them. While I don't know the exact why behind all this, I think we can agree there's a massive cover-up. It's so big and close to us that we often miss it. And I can't imagine Dogman is a naturally occurring creature, just like these crawler things that, as far as I can tell, don't even have sex organs. I could go into reports of skinwalkers, Kushnika, Wendigo, crawlers, giants, but those are topics for another day. I imagine if Sasquatch were to look back at its fossil record, they too would see a glaring missing link. Humans. I assume they already know something. They might not have tools like ours, but they have a brain wired at least partially like ours, in a semi-autistic, savant-like fashion. Unlike our leap from some sort of ape to Cro-Magnon, their missing link is far more obvious, a huge gap. Just look at the difference in time and characteristics between our two groups. At least there is some evidence for evolution with humans over time. There's no way humanity could evolve into a Sasquatch with those attributes in 15,000 years. It's impossible. And that's why I believe the government wants to keep Sasquatch under wraps. Because one discovery leads to another, and soon people are starting to ask questions, and the government doesn't want to answer. At the end of the day, too much is at stake to risk unraveling the status quo. History has shown us that things often get worse before they get better. And any major paradigm shift creates a vacuum that can be filled with something worse. Personally, I'd rather know the truth, but I won't lose sleep over not knowing. I'm sure some public office is tasked with keeping these secrets, and they're likely well compensated for carrying that burden. But if it's all corrupt, I can't support that. I don't like it. This issue is so massive that I can't imagine every aspect of it is being done for the wrong reasons. I'm not even sure it can be stopped. People need to be careful what they wish for, because the truth might bring with it a whole new level of complexity and societal burden. I have no restrictions on you reading this on your program if you want. Doesn't matter to me. I don't give my name, but you do know how to reach me on my channel. Either way, I just thought I should throw my hat into the ring for your open question. Your channel is a great place for such topics. Have a blessed day. Respectfully, Kay. All right. Gotcha. I'll look you up, Kay, and appreciate that email. I loved it. Too many people are just glazed over when it comes to so much information on so many different topics, right? How do we get this way? I don't get it. He really frustrates me. Like I said in the beginning, I'm more amazed at watching humans bumble through this lifetime than I am of knowing these large, hairy, upright, human-like beings are running around the forest. I've seen them. I've seen them. I accept it. It's easy to accept for me, but good God, it's so hard to watch humans bumble through this lifetime being shown blatant proof in their face of various topics, which are absolute, delivered with deceit to us by the people we give our money to. And all we do is sit there, look, oh, well, that kind of sucks, and then gaze over this way and keep going, doing our regular routine. It's bizarre, isn't it? Yeah, I got my 7th booster. Whole house got COVID a couple days later, but I got my 7th booster. Carry on. Because that's normal, right? Anyway, I'll bite my lip on other topics. Appreciate that. I'm sure we'll hear from you again, whether it be in person. I mean, on a video. Who knows? We'll talk again. Make sure you email me back, please. What do we got here? How long is this one? All right, I'm going for it. I'm going in. Going in. Alan, aka Colorado. Hi, Steve. Can you believe this complete slap in the face these pricks in DC are serving up as freedom-loving people? Camel Toe Harris, what a complete attempt to remove the last shreds of pride and love of country from the sheep they so easily control. That, quote, interview, end quote, if you want to call it that, was pathetic. It's painfully obvious that this woman is literally dumb, period. She had the questions up front and notes on her lap, and she still managed to look about as unpresidential as humanly possible. If you play the interview that Dana Sellout did with J.D. Vance next to this campaign endorsement, it was like two different reporters. Now we're giving illegals $125,000 to buy a house when the streets are littered with homeless veterans. How are we not at war already? If our founding fathers saw this shit, they would call up the militia and throw these traitors out of the Capitol and hang them from the nearest tree for treason. It's just too much. And they're not even worried because they let 20 million illegals in who they strategically bust to every state to ensure a Democratic win. Oh, believe me, they're not just allowing them to vote, they're ordering them to vote. We have got to get organized and figure out how to save our respective countries. Damn. Sorry. Let me get to the story I wrote to the club about. Okay, man, I totally get it. We're on the same page. I got no problem sharing your voice. YouTube's probably going to delete me, but whatever. I don't give a shit. They can suck it. Now, sure if you remember, but I'm the guy who has the family of these beings sharing a mountain with me in southern Pennsylvania. I was the guy who wrote last time about the one I'll call Verbal, carrying a lost buck I had shot to my barn and beating on the door until I got up and went out to see it. I remember that. I promised you that I would tell more about my experiences with these woodsmen. In the last letter, I told you that when I'd come home one time on leave to introduce my baby daughter to the family, I had also spoken to Verbal, and he had asked me, in my head of course, if the child was mine. We had been in the backyard, and I heard him say my name. I snuck away from everyone, which wasn't hard. My daughter was the center of attention, and walked in a few hundred yards to where the ground started upwards in a steep grade, several ridges, to the mountaintop. Verbal stepped out from behind a chestnut tree, snacking on fallen nuts, and that's when he asked about my daughter. I have to tell you that when I hear people say these people don't have a sense of humor or show human emotion, I don't agree, because that is simply not the experience I've had with them. He asked me how old she was, mentioned my wife, said that I had done well, and I swear he smiled when he said she needed to grow some more hair. I guess not slapstick humor, but something anyway, huh? I grew up around a large family of good-humored and good-natured people. We joked, poked fun, and laughed a lot. We were more likely to say something like, "Get the hell up from there," when someone fell down rather than to be like, oh my God, are you all right? My point is that as I have told you before, I basically lived in these forests and I hunted the entire mountain, preferring the higher elevations over the lower. So I climbed that damn thing more times than I care to remember. And it's a steep bastard, especially near the peak, where the rock and deadfall covered by snow could send you on your ass in about a second flat. On a few occasions when Verbal was near and either saw or heard me fall, he would say the exact thing my family would. And Steve, I swear he was laughing when he'd say it. He understood it for what it was. He understood it for what it was, and damn if the big hairy bastard didn't find it as funny as we did. I don't know. Maybe he was just comfortable because of the relationship with my grandfather, and then with me. He knew us as well as anyone, I suppose, so back to the story. I'd made sure that I visited during the fall turkey season and was out in the woods the very next day before sunrise, hoping to catch the flock we'd been tracking coming down from the roost. I missed the flock and was calling, but unsuccessfully. Damn turkeys. Sometimes I swear they do it deliberately. So it was near lunch, and I made a small fire to toast a sandwich. Verbal made his presence known about the time I was finishing up and putting out the small fire. I answered with a wave, and he returned the greeting. I wanted you to meet my daughter since he shared yours with us. Steve, I nearly shit myself. About 20 yards away, here come a 2.5 to 3 foot tall sabe at a dead run, and I mean full bore. I stood up. Hell, the little thing was so excited I didn't know what to do. This is just about the hands down craziest thing I'd ever experienced. I did what anyone would do when a child was running towards him. I raised up my hands as if to catch her when she arrived. I know the big shit-eating grin on my face had to be obvious to Verbal. I was as excited as the little girl was. It was just unbelievable, Steve. She didn't have an ounce of fear. I bent down to meet her, at her level, and right before she made it into my arms, an enormous female, much lighter brown than Verbal, was obviously the wife and mother, snatched the little girl up before we could hug. She looked at me. Steve, we were literally 3 feet apart, smiled, and said, not yet, Alan. She's just too young, and it's just too dangerous for her to trust your kind that much. She cannot yet read humans yet, and she is always exploring and sneaking off. I understand, I told her, and she walked off with her daughter, who was kicking and really putting up a fight, arms wailing to reach out to me. Verbal chuckled. Well, as close to a chuckle as a sabe can be. She likes you, Alan, and when she gets older, you two can talk. She's amazing, Verbal, I told him. You did good. I could tell he was full of pride over her. Steve, I sat there completely forgetting the reason I was even in the woods for hours, playing back what had just happened over and over again in my head. We'd become close. Areliaral. Areliaral. A-R-E-L-I-A-R-A-L. It's been a long day. Areliaral. That's kind of her name. I called her R.E. just because I cannot pronounce her name. Works for me. Just because I cannot pronounce her name, she's the most curious of the family, and I can tell she still doesn't like having to hide away when there is so much to see and learn. Steve, yes, these are not animals. They're basically us, only smarter, bigger, stronger, and yes, hairier. Also, Steve, Verbal has sat on a fallen tree with me many times and visited for a bit, especially after I moved away and would come back for visits and hunting season. It's just about the most intimidating thing there is. He is huge. I mean startling big. I thank God every time he visits that we are friends. Yes, he has a human face. Like you said, not exactly, but he sure as hell isn't a goddamn monkey. Anyway, Steve, I'd like to talk to you more about Verbal. I'm thinking about asking him if he would let me bring you to meet him. I think once he meets you, he would agree. I think once he meets you, he would agree. I believe he trusts me because I've kept our friendship a secret for over 30 years now. I'm not sure if he will say it's okay. I've only let my oldest daughter meet him, mostly because Verbal knew about my friendship with R.E., and I know he always had genuine concern about how my daughter was doing. Well, I've rambled on for too long. I have no idea what's coming, Steve, but I can sense that something big is, and I just hope we're prepared for it. Stay safe and keep doing what you're doing. It makes a difference. Your friend Colorado Alan. Wow. There you go. Alan, appreciate your email. Would I take up that offer? Why not? Why not? You know what? I mean, if there's been a handful of offers in the past. I fumbled. I got both my eyes infected. I never showed you guys those pictures, actually. You want to see them? When I was down in the south, I'm not going to get off topic for too long, but when I was in the south, my plans were to go. And I didn't make it. And I had to go home. It was serious. And that was my time to go do that down south. Let me get back here. I'm going to show you what my eyes look like for some of you weirdos who think I'm lying. Oh no. Oh, here they are. So here's what my eye looked like when I tried to open it. Hope you're not eating dinner. That's what my eyes look like. And they're killing me. Look at that. There you go. That's what happened to me when I was in Alabama. And then I was going to go to Texas and Arizona. Whoops, didn't quite make it, did I? Anyway, if you want to email me back, I suggest you wouldn't leave any physical details. You probably want to try doing a Proton email. And email me back. And we'll email back and forth. I'm obviously going to have some questions for you, obviously. But if it's all legit, would I go? If it is exactly how you describe, friendly, non-threatening, and none of that potential life tagging going on, as in getting family members here in my home basically tormented at night all the time, randomly, forever, that would suck ass, and I'm not into opening up that door. So, but we'll see. If you have one of these people who can speak that smooth, back and forth, I'm all over it. Or at least I'm all over hearing the conversations you've had and what you've learned. Who are these people? Who are we? What's with the secrecy? Is there people hunting and killing them? If so, who? Who? You know, the questions are endless. Email me back, please. Email me back. We'll speak to each other and take it from there. All right? That sure sounds like a hell of a lot. Like that's a holy cow. But you know what? You're not the first one to email experiences with that kind of detail. Even a guy in British Columbia's emailed me. I forget who it was, though. I got somebody else mixed up with him. But I had a guy in the Fraser Valley. Used to go play up the road. Lived rural. Lived in a trailer. No friends. We used to go up the road and play with this hairy kid. Until his mom would come and start whistling. Then he'd have to go. And then finally, I think he told him through his mind that he couldn't play with them anymore and they had to go away. And they left. And then years later, he said he ran into this dude again in Fraser Valley and said, holy shit, had he grown. He was absolutely huge. And he said that they have to stay on the move because of bad people hunting them down and killing them. Anyway, there you go, you guys. And emails. It's a lot to chew on, isn't it? Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, what was I going to... I was going to share something with you guys here at the end, damn it. What was I going to share? The fishing. I'll share you. So, yeah. We stopped at the river that I actually steelhead fish on in the wintertime. Where these people are seen a lot. And nobody's there. It's just Sarah and I and Chippy. And I wanted to show them where you can drive on this bridge and look straight down. And we need rain right now, but there's still salmon in the river, and there's a bunch of spring salmon circling around. And I had all my fishing rods. I had to get all my gear off my boat, getting ready to store it for the winter, so I had them all in the truck. I'm like, hey, I got a fishing rod. And I dug in the console of my truck. Oh, there's a GoPro. Oh, it's got a battery and an SD card. So I had a plastic water bottle. I tied that onto the line as a bobber. I put about a 4-foot leader, and then I clipped onto the GoPro, and I cast it in the water. and I'll show you at the end here what we picked up. It's pretty cool. Now, before I forget, I think Sarah still has these guys and more. I believe she's got these still. What am I doing here? I'm not the best promoter marketer dude, am I? Anyway, she still has these. I don't know how many, but she got them in her store. And this is a blacktail hunter decal. I put on my truck. It's actually kind of badass. I like these. I designed this 8 years ago. Isn't that funny? Here's another one. She's got them in the store. What else? So much. I really got to get my act together, huh? With all the shit that I do. My hunting apps are meant designed to not promote anything except knowledge, and they've been brought up to date. Thank God. They function smoothly. They're available to help you become successful. You and your family, your children, anybody. I think that's about it for now. All those links are in the description below, I believe. And let's see if Colorado gets a hold of me. Sounds interesting, right? Sounds interesting. We'll see. And I will definitely reply. Now, I gotta get going. I think I'm running on about not too much sleep as usual. Whatever, I'll be asleep when we die. Speaking of death, I have to make this one mention. Friends of mine. Very good friends of mine. Very good friends of mine. Their family. How make this story short, and you'll understand why I have much respect for this man. I'm going to mention his name right now. Paul Vener. Paul Vener. Played the role of father to one of my best friends and his sisters. And he wasn't the biological father. This man lived in Prince George, successful man, and he took on my friend's mom. And she had 2 daughters she'd been abandoned with, remarried to another man, and had a son and another daughter. That son turned out to be one of my best friends, the whole family. And he took on this woman with 4 children, not his own. He had a successful tree planting business. I believe he had horses and trail rides up Prince George. And my friend's mom, with 4 children, went on to get her real estate license, got it, saw an opportunity, and moved to Whistler, British Columbia, where all the children eventually followed. They all went down there, and Paul, obviously. And Paul became the national ski coach. Right? They all were into ski racing. And I watched this man because I had, obviously, a monster come into my life. A couple of them. But I watched this man. Now they've all my friend and all his sisters, they all have children. Whole pile of grandchildren. But anyways, to make a long story short, this man took on this lady with 4 kids. One became a doctor. The other became a professional ski racer. I think she broke some records. The other became a very successful real estate agent with her mom in Whistler. And my friend he's now the assistant fire chief for the Whistler Fire Hall. He's been there, I think, almost 25 years. Very successful, happy people, the whole pile of grandchildren. And then what does he do? He teaches my friend how to hunt, takes him hunting, takes him fishing, takes them all hunting. And he would go out of his way. He was never sat on his ass once. That man was non-stop taking all those grandchildren on hunting trips, fishing trips, playing golf, anything. Always up to the cabin. They had a cabin up at Green Lake. Take it up there, water skiing, fishing, always doing something with the grandkids. Always. Still went on a sheep hunt just a handful of years back. He's a hard ass, though. He's a hard ass. He was hard on them all. But he kept them in line. And I have so much respect for this man, Paul Vener. If I could have went back in time, I would have done anything to have a man like that come into my life when I was a boy. They scored the jackpot when Paul Vener came into their lives. Jackpot. Anyway, he stayed active, always going hunting, and he sadly acquired the big cancer, the big C. And he decided he's had enough of this. He's bored. He can't stand being inside and sitting there slowly rotting away. So they had a huge family day and a family goodbye to Paul. And Paul left us today. What a great man. And I feel very proud to have known him and share his name out loud with the world today. Paul Vener. May you rest in peace, sir. You're a true good man and role model. Huge. What a loss. I'm sure we're going to see him again, right? I'm 100% confident we all see each other again. And then we make plans for our next goofy ride. So, I don't know if you're here watching this, Paul, or not, but we'll see you. I hope you had a safe journey. We will see you again. There you go. I'll be back tomorrow, everyone.
Okay, recording. Here we go.